with you as well. You could see Stefan Thompson on that side of me, on my left side here on the screen, and of course myself here, Dan Tortora, inside of the Charney's Menswear and Tuxedo Studios. And Stefan Thompson, 2013 was a few years back that he came from Hobart, and now he has returned, found his way back to Hobart as the head men's basketball coach. He's going to be starting off his first season there as the head coach, has been there as an assistant, but now we have him as the leader of the team here for 2019-2020. So without further ado, let's bring him into the broadcast and see how he's doing. Stefan, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Dan. I appreciate you having me on here and giving myself and our program this opportunity. So thank you.
Absolutely. And just, first and foremost for you, Stefan, to, tell your story. Everybody to me has a very unique story, has, the way that they got to where they got to today came through something. So share with everybody your story and just let us know, what kind of brought you to where you stand right now as the head coach at Hobart.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Syracuse, New York, right on the south side of the city there. And it was my mother, my younger brother, my sister, and I. And my mom always put a value on academics and also threw me into sports. Sports was kind of my avenue to learn, be around teammates. The first 10 years of my life, I was a single child. So, some of my best friends were, my football, baseball, or basketball teammates. And, as I became an older brother with my brother and sister here, really taught me the value of just being a good leader, and my mom was very, very hard on me to make great decisions. So, growing up on the south side, I was placed with a lot of adversity, but growing to higher Onondaga Park and learning from some older mentors there, and being able to learn the game, going to play pickup 5-on-5. I remember going to the park at, noon and then maybe not leave until 6 o'clock at night. But in those days, Dan, it was different. You play, and if you lose a game, you might not get picked up for another 3 or 4 hours. So
yeah,
it's all competitive gene to, try to win at all costs. And, growing up on the playground, you're playing with different guys. You may not know their strengths, you may do. And, I might be guarding a guy who's 6'5" and 280 pounds, and I'm only 13 years old. So you kind of got to find a way to get it done. That kind of instilled in me a passion, a fire to just compete. And then I was fortunate enough to go to a couple of basketball camps. One specifically was the Jim Boeheim camp. That was the summer of my 7th grade going to 8th grade year. It was right after they won the national championship with Melo. So, the energy around the program was huge. And while I was there, I was able to meet a mentor of mine named Gary Barnaba, who introduced me to CBA. And that's what really kind of changed the trajectory for my life, Dan. And it put me on a platform for education to be valued, the community to be valued. And I learned from a great coaching staff there, Buddy Wiklinski and Ed Leone, and even my JV coaches about, how do you buy into a system? How do you grasp the fundamentals? And that really catapulted me to be a college player. And I put the time in, was able to get recruited here to Hobart, and I played here, loved it. And, at the whole time, I really just wanted to get into coaching and be a leader. So that's kind of my trajectory and how I got to where I am today.
So we look at that, and you bring up someone who has been a mentor to you here live on Facebook and also live on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. MixLR is where you get our live streaming radio Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and our live streaming video is right here for you on Facebook.com/live-now-DT, and you can see everything on the ticker below here, and right to my left is Stefan Thompson, our special guest to start off this week, the last full week of September, believe it or not. So you brought up Gary Barnaba, and he's somebody who has obviously meant a whole lot to me. He's someone that I consider to, be a mentor growing up. My grandfathers both passed away in '92, and he looks like he could be a kind of a dead ringer for my mom's dad. And so it's kind of crazy that in 8th grade, when I kind of was walking down the halls and whatnot, and I walked into his room for health class, I just, to me, it was like seeing my grandfather. And to me, that was a sign that something positive had come into my life. Maybe this was a godsend. And that was that was back in like the late 90s. So, I mean, you go from it. So it's been at least 20 years that I've known Gary Barnaba, and no, probably more than that, probably a little over 20 years. and he's meant the world to me. So just to go a little bit more into that, you said he introduced you to CBA and obviously means something to you. Just what you could say about, Mr. Barnaba, because I'm right there with you. He definitely has a big place in my life too.
Oh, for sure. I think many here that's, test Mr. Barnaba, his wife Sheila as well. They help tremendous people in the Syracuse community kind of elevate their lives. And I went back to the Syracuse camp. It was actually an opportunity for me to, be in the dome and just learn from coaches. And a little quick backstory on that, and I'll dive into Mr. Barnaba, is that, my grandmother and my grandfather had been married for some years, and my grandpa was really trying to figure out how he was going to kind of spice up their anniversary. He really didn't know what they wanted to do. They were going on vacation, was going to get her a new bag. And she really wasn't, feeling any of that stuff. She was like, you know what, I want to do something for Stefan. Pay for him to go to that Jim Boeheim camp. So my grandmother sacrificed an anniversary gift or a trip, elevated me to have an opportunity. And then, when I go to the Syracuse camp, I was one of those dudes who I just wanted to be there all day. I got there around 7:30 in the morning, didn't leave until 11:30 at night after the Syracuse guys got done playing pickup. And after the second day or so, I think Mr. Barnaba kind of saw I was in the dome all the time. And I think he saw passion for that, and he kind of went and watched me play a couple of the games. And throughout the camp, he would just kind of come check on me. How's your week going? You doing all right? That type of stuff. And he asked me if I had heard of CBA before, and I'd heard of it, but really didn't know much about it. Growing up my mom was really thinking about private school just because of the financial component of things there. So, Mr. B just said, come by, open house, tour the facilities, tour the school, see what it was like. And, he really just opened the doors for me to kind of see a different lens. And then when I was able to get into CBA academically and, just having that guy through the hall, you can kind of poke in and say, hey, Mr. B, how's it going? Or, he would check in with my teachers and things of that nature. And you need those people in your corner, especially when you're going through that kind of life trajectory where you're in an environment you're not used to being in on the daily. And Mr. B was someone that's always been in my corner, he's still in my corner to this day. So, I know that he had a huge impact on my life, but also my siblings and just other people, including yourself, Dan. So, shout out to Mr. B for all he's done.
Absolutely. And you said, your upbringing in kind of the neighborhood that you're in, that can create opportunities, either positive or negative. You can either go in one direction or the other. And one of the players, Sean Riley, up at Syracuse right now, who I've been, professionally and personally connected to, consider him a friend, also very much respect what he's doing with the Syracuse football program. And he came from California, and, he told me, he's like, the neighborhood that I came in, that I came from, poverty-stricken neighborhood. He said, I had a choice. I could go live a life of crime, or I could go play football and try and find my way out of here. And he chose to do the other side. He chose to stay, and he said, where I grew up, he's like, I'm a little guy, so, people don't think that they had anything to maybe worry about or anything like that. He goes on the football field and he shows that power. But he said, I'm growing up, I'm a little kid, I'm not in a good neighborhood. You got to kind of fight your way out. It builds tough skin. Did you get a sense of that as well, that you got that thick skin and that you had a choice when you were there? You could either go down one path or go down another, and ultimately you chose to go down a path where you could have a future.
Absolutely. I think many kids share that same story. And for me, when I was walking around my neighborhood, and you could see negative things, you could see positive things. And I think, I had a great ability from my mom, my grandfather, my uncles, my aunt, just people who kind of were just throwing me gems, to keep making good decisions. So when I was faced with the possibility of doing something wrong, and deep down, intuition was like, you know what, go in the right direction. But the beauty about basketball was, Dan, is that I could go anywhere in the city, and basketball was kind of your safety net. I can go on the south side where I lived and go down to the Southwest Community Center, or I can go over to the west side and go to Shawner Street, or the north side and go to McChesney, or the east side and go to Thornton Park. And when you have a ball in your hand, I think that kind of sends a message to people that, hey, this is what I'm about. I'm not about the violence or things of that nature. All I'm trying to do is just elevate my life and get myself a new opportunity. And there would be times, though, when you're on the court and you're playing in the playground and, parents aren't there, coaches aren't there, that things can get heated. So there had to be opportunities for me. I had to walk away or, diffuse situations that could sometimes get out of hand. You're on the playground and you see people over there doing some things you don't want to do, or they got buddies with them. And you're like, you know what? I probably should walk away and come back to the court 30 minutes from now. So, just the game of basketball itself kind of steered me in the right direction, and it kind of kept pulling me, away from things that, could put me down the wrong path. So I have a lot of love for the game and all the things it's done for me, but I also had a lot of good people, sharing some advice to me to say, hey, do this and do that, and it steered me in the right direction, so I'm appreciative of it.
Speaking here this morning with Stefan Thompson, the new head coach of Hobart's men's basketball program, has been with Hobart as an assistant and was back there and graduated in 2013 as well. And I want to get to that piece of it in a second here, Stefan, but for you, did you ever have a moment in any part of life, on the court, off the court, a moment of adversity? I know we talked about the neighborhood you grew up in. Maybe you got to leave and come back 30 minutes later. Did you ever feel at a crossroads before? Did you ever feel maybe pulled in the wrong direction, had to pull yourself back? Did you ever have one of those moments? Because I think it's important for, kids and adults to hear that, at any moment of weakness or if peer pressure or somebody pulling you one way or the other, to always stay the course. Do you feel like you always stayed the course, or was there a time where you felt like maybe I could have gone this way and then I kind of learned and had to go the other way?
I always tried to stay the course. As I mentioned, I was in a single mother household. So when I came home, my mom was knowing how my day went. She asked me what was going on, and my mom's very good at reading people. I can't lie to her. I always have to tell her the truth. So I always knew when I stepped foot in the home, I wanted to be able to make my mom proud. So she kind of kept me on the right track. But I'll take you back to 8th grade when I was over at Roberts Middle School. And I'm going to tell you, Dan, it's kind of funny now, but we went defeated. We went 0-13.
Yeah.
And that taught me a lot, though. It showed me what a dysfunctional team looks like, guys having their own egos in the way. And that really proved to me deep down that, I never want to be a part of a team like this. So as a leader, I had to kind of reprogram my brain and say, what does it take to win? And the timing of it was I was going to CBA next year. I got a fresh start, but that adversity, man, of going 0-13 and going home and complaining to my mom about this sucks, man, I may want to quit. Like, why am I doing this? And her continually staying in my corner and saying, nope, you started this, you're going to finish it. Keep your head up. Be a leader in the locker room. And all those things she ingrained in me kind of motivated me to get through that adverse moment. So, we all kind of go through those periods of our lives, whether circumstances are different. But at the end of the day, I think inside of us, we have that feeling in our gut that we know we're making a good decision or bad decision. And it comes down to us to consistently say, I'm going to make the good decision. And you got to have faith and know that, 5-10 years from now, those good decisions will pay off, even if you don't see them tomorrow or next week. But, you got to trust that feeling in your stomach. And if you can do that, I promise everyone out there, you're going to be able to look back and say, you know what, that was worth it. So, I was fortunate enough to kind of reflect back and kind of go through those type of moments. But 8th grade year really taught me a lot about, what it takes to be on a good team and, how I can impact the culture positively.
That coming from Stefan Thompson here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're live on Facebook as well as on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Stefan, to go back to your playing days, what you were able to do, I obviously talked about the fact that you graduated from Hobart in 2013. You got a bachelor's degree in sociology and anthropology. You were the first NABC All-American in program history and helped lead the team to an 82-31 record over 4 seasons. You and your team, first class of Hobart basketball players to produce 4 consecutive winning seasons in over 55 years, and the first ever to make 4 consecutive postseason appearances. So when I say those to you, when I give those accolades, 82-31 over 4 seasons, the first class of Hobart basketball players to produce 4 consecutive winning seasons and 4 consecutive trips to the postseason in over 55 years of play. Just what you could say about that. I mean, this wasn't – I mean, you guys were changing the culture. Like you said, you had been on a losing team. You know what that felt like. You were on a defeated team. You never wanted to be there again. You go to Hobart, and you make history at Hobart, obviously something that you want to capitalize on as a head coach, but you got to do it as a player. Just what you could say about that.
I was fortunate to be in a locker room with like-minded guys when I got to college here too. During the recruiting process when I was at CPA, I had a lot of programs in upstate New York recruiting me, and some of them had great tradition and great facilities. They're telling me about that, and I told my mom, my grandpa one day, he's like, you know what, I want to go to a place where I can have a lasting impact. And the year Hobart was recruiting me, they went 8-17. So when I told them I was going to go to Hobart, everyone was like, "What the heck are you doing, man? Like, there's other places you could go." But I knew I wanted to go to a place where, I could impact the culture. And Coach Metz, Coach Peisnick, Coach Wenzel, and Coach Paddock never really guaranteed that I'd play. So I was coming in here just saying, you know what, I'm going to learn the ropes freshman, sophomore year, and junior year. Hopefully I can get an opportunity to start. Coach Metz gave me the ball from day one. And I think he allowed me to grow and make mistakes. But the best part about it was I had supports from my teammate. And there were guys that they wanted to win. They were hungry. And, guys like Greg Stern, who was from Janesville, DeWitt High School, local guy. There's guys from Buffalo, Rochester. I think we all had this upstate New York pride, and we wanted to elevate Hobart, take it to a place we never had. So, my classmates, Reason Davis and Sean Peer, had a great connection because there was only 3 of us. So we really put the time in and said, you know what, let's work harder. Let's get up at 6 a.m. and get extra lifts in, and let's get extra shots up at night. And next thing you know, you look down the line 3 years from now, that's just what the culture is. So accredited is just our coaching staff, our teammates at the time, and just everyone that wanted to accomplish something bigger than themselves. So I was lucky to kind of fall into that situation, but I'm thankful for everyone that was a part of it as well.
So, but like you said, when you decided to go there, 8-17, they were not a winning team. They were not having success, and it's kind of like, why were you doing that? I go back to kind of parallel that. My father had said to me, I was trying to figure out what to do in peer ministry, and there was Best Buddies, and this was at CBA as well. And there was like Best Buddies and this, that, and the other. And Best Buddies was one of the ones in peer ministry that was a program that didn't really have a lot of people involved, didn't really have a lot of direction, didn't really have a lot of life of what it could be as we move forward. And so the question was, do you do something like that in camp? Well, that was actually Marywood University, pardon me. But it was, from peer ministry, from CBA to Marywood, it was that same, what programs are we keeping? Which ones are we getting rid of? And at Marywood, Best Buddies was with the intellectually handicapped, and there was no real direction of what do we do? Do we go over to the house? Are we bringing them out and doing something publicly where they could get out for a little bit and do this or do that? Like, how are we going to do this? Is it a big brother, big sister type of thing? So there was no direction. And I remember sitting down and having to circle the 3 I wanted to do. And my father said, well, which ones are successful? And he goes, I know that one sounds like you. He goes, that one, honestly, they all sound like you. But he said, I raised my son to be able to take a program that's dying and resurrect it and build it new life and build it up. I didn't, he's like, I know you could take something that's already running and make it into something special, continue it to be something special, make it go higher. But he said, I also know that I have a son that has a capacity of taking something that people don't believe in and creating something out of that. You did that with Hobart. I know you gave a lot of credit to your teammates, but to go a little bit deeper on that narrative and that thought of, people ask, and I can link with you in that, people ask why. Why would you go to something that's dying or bleeding and want to be a part of it when you could go over here and have all types of success? And there's that desire to make something that's nothing into something, as opposed to taking something that is something and just continuing it. Just to speak on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we make the most of our opportunities, whether it looks good for other people's eyes or the perception isn't. But if we have a passion behind it, we can form a unit and we can give multiple efforts in what we do. I think we've proven it in our stories that we can elevate wherever we go. I knew, like, at the end of the day, after I was done playing basketball, whether I was going to coach or go into business or do whatever, I had to be able to make a mark. I had to be able to impact the culture of anywhere I went. So, studying sociology as a college student here really gave me some gems as to put into practice. So even as, Hobart was kind of going through that transformation and we're trying to turn the corner here, I'm learning about it in my classroom. I'm getting it from my professors. And, the whole community was able to kind of give me this knowledge that I was able to kind of transfer through and filter through to the basketball court and to our locker room. So, I really wanted to just be in a place that I could try to leave a mark, do something that's never been done before. And deep down, man, like as a coach now, I think those are the greatest coaches. They go to a place where they'll never win. How can they do And next thing you know, 4 or 5 teams in the NCAA tournament, and you're like, wow, that guy's a great coach. He can win anywhere. So, deep down, I wanted to make sure I was instilling those same values in me, but only from the player perspective. That, you know what? No matter where Stefan Thompson goes, he's going to win. And, I had the same kind of guys in the locker room with me. So just that opportunity to face adversity and revive something is huge. And, I think that's a part of who we are. So I'm fortunate that I was able to go through that.
And for you, like you said, people say, well, how is he going to be successful there? How is he going to do it? How are, he or she going to find success? I go to a story of Dabo Swinney, and Dabo Swinney, when he was the wide receivers coach at Clemson, and then all of a sudden they elevated him to head coach, he had a press conference. And in that press conference, and I wasn't there, I heard about it, obviously through history, but at the press conference, he stood at the podium and pounded his fist and said, we will win here. I'm going to change this program. We're going to be successful. And there were people in the media that outright allegedly just laughed in his face, like literally laughed in his face. And now Dabo Swinney is one of the most successful and most recently above Nick Saban, the most successful coach in college football. So, when you look at the why do you do it, I think people forget so easily that these guys were laughed at, that these women were kind of pushed off. You look at Breanna Stewart and you say, okay, well, she's from Central New York and she's a really good Central New York player, but what's she going to do? And some people don't give her a lot of credit because she's not from Texas, or she wasn't from Florida, or she wasn't from North Carolina or wherever, or a big city. And then she goes to UConn, 4 years, 4 championships. She's an MVP. Then she goes to the draft. Now she's arguably, but in my opinion, the best WNBA player out there. And whenever she does anything on the court, it's amazing. And then off the court, she's supporting women. Off the court, she's asking people for positive change. So people see Breanna Stewart now and say, oh, my God, look at this miracle. But she was always a miracle. She was always working hard. Dabo Swinney was always in the trenches. You've been in the trenches. I've been in the trenches. Mr. B's been in the trenches. So, I just think it's really compelling and beautiful and wonderful, including for you this morning, to be able to tell your story. Because when you're on this show in a few years from now, and we're talking about Hobart going to consistent playoffs, and you guys, winning the majority of your games, maybe having single-digit losses seasons, for people to know where it came from and go, oh yeah, Stefan Thompson, he's a tremendous coach. Yeah, but there was a day where people said, why would you take this job, or why would you go to this school, or why would you take on something like this? So I think it's important to tell the story, because everybody wants to see the end result, and we live in a society that wants to sit down as the head coach and then automatically be undefeated and win a championship in their first year, but they don't want to put the effort in. You're putting the effort in, and that's going to breed success, and I think it's important to tell the story on the way up.
Yeah, that the opportunity. And, not a coach, my big connecting with players. It's all athlete experience, and we have a unique role here with parents dropping their kids off and putting it in our coaching staff's hands and saying, you know what, I want to make my son a better person. So me only being 28 years old, that's a lot of responsibility for most people, because some guys only get their head coaching job mid-30s, early 40s. So I feel extremely fortunate to do so. But I may only be 6 to 10 years older than some of our guys. So my big thing is building a connection with them and making sure they know that it's bigger than basketball in our relationship. Because if I can continue to inspire them and educate them and coach them up, the stuff on the court will take care of itself. I love the chemistry we have in our locker room. We have high character guys that work hard in the classroom, the community. They're in the gym all the time getting extra shots up. But now they're looking to me, to make decisions and to always connect them too. So I think as a head coach, my job is to kind of catapult them to the next phase of their life. For example, Daniel, I had a guy in my office last week, and he's between going into commercial real estate or public health or staying in sports. We're talking through that. Yeah. And 10 minutes later, another kid comes to my office, and we're talking about the latest news in hip hop. Or 15 minutes later, a guy may come in and talk to me about his family. So as a coach, I'm kind of the vessel of inspiration to these guys, and I just want to spark something in them that they can go on to kind of impact their own lives and change people that they interact with on the daily.
Yeah, and you've already worked to change people's lives for the better. I want to read a message that came up this morning from Donna Myers Lockhart, who said, Stefan Thompson has always been very humble, sharing the spotlight with everyone. A sincere young man for sure, a role model for his brother and sister, among others. He had a lot of support from family and friends. Love this young man. Never give up. So what are your, I mean, that's in real time, some words from Donna. What are your thoughts?
That's my aunt right there. So she's showing some love. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think the Syracuse community, like, at the end of the day, we got a lot of pride, man. That 315 means a lot to us. People might not know it, but Geneva is a 315 area code. So even when I'm here 45 minutes away from the Cuse, I still feel a part of it. And, people like my aunt Donna and just other people in the community. When I go back home on the south side, I like to walk around sometimes and just bump into people that I may have not seen in years. And just seeing them and, talking with them, hearing, joking about old stories, that's inspiring to me, man. That type of stuff kind of motivates me to, get up at 4:45 if I got to go recruiting and, go see a kid, or, maybe not get on the road until midnight and get home at 4 a.m. But, I think back that, what, my life could be completely different. So I got to make sure I take full advantage of that. And people like my Donna and just other people in my community, they're always inspiring me to keep pushing further. So I know the further I go, that's just a platform for me to represent them.
Yeah, and we talk about representing the 315, and you come from the 315. I do as well. Just what that means to you. We hear, again, you hear about the big cities and putting the big city on your back and big city this and big city that. I get asked all the time, why did you come back to Syracuse? You were living in Orlando, you're doing your thing, you're living your dreams, you're having fun. What would make you come back to Syracuse? And I said, well, Syracuse is home. Syracuse is the place it's where I grew up. And I said, if I'm going to start my company, I want to put my name on the door in Syracuse. That's the first place I want to do it. Some people don't get those roots. It's like, why would you leave Disney? Why would you leave nice weather? Why would you want to come back to the snow? It's got nothing to do with snow. It's got nothing to do with amusement parks. It has to do with love and what's in your heart, So talk about repping the 315, because, I could feel that energy from you and that appreciation. So, speak a little bit on that.
It's something I do on the daily, because the 315, made me who I am. In the basketball scope of things, going to Higher Onondaga Park every day and, getting tutelage from guys like Mike Zachary or, Marv Johnson, who were some OGs on the court. Ed played a lot on the court, and they would kick my butt sometimes. They'd also put their arms around me, maybe give me a ride home, and, those type of things. You always remember those. It makes an impact on you. And then, going to the downtown YMCA and working out and really putting the time in on, Saturday and Sunday mornings at 5:30 in the morning against older guys, and, meeting guys like Billy Eatman, who trained me for a couple of years and, had a great career up at Syracuse, was able to win a national championship. But, you connect these dots over the course of your life, and you realize that there's not many degrees of separation, especially in a place like Syracuse. And I think that's what makes it special. Is it is a little bit of a smaller city, so some people kind of brush it under the rug. But if you're ingrained in it and you're a part of it, you genuinely get to build some authentic relationships. And I'm a person who values authentic relationships. I love being able to go home and, see buddies from high school or see kids that I played Pop Warner football with or VJ basketball. And that means something to me. I'm not a big fan of the whole big city lights and all the glamour. So for me, I like to be able to just go back home to 315 and, reconnect with those kind of people. But at the end of the day, where we come from shapes us. Some people want to get out of their circumstances and where they come from. I was able to get out, but I'm still in an opportunity where I can still come back and make an impact. So it's just a perfect combination right there for my lifestyle.
Absolutely. And we're speaking here once again with Stefan Thompson, the head coach of Hobart's team. Hobart men's basketball has been an assistant there, was an assistant over at Wilkes as well. We'll talk about that in just a second. We're live inside of the Charney's Menswear and Tuxedo Studios. All the info for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, for those of you on Facebook Live, is on the ticker. For those of you listening on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, you are proudly here with us on there, as well as on facebook.com/livenowdt. This show is Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, proudly called Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. To stick with that and to stick with that narrative for a second before we talk about your history a little bit, Stefan, Wake Up Call is the name of the show. There's a bunch of reasons. It's a morning show, but the bigger reason why it's called Wake Up Call is that I feel like we all need one. I need it. We all need it. You need that thing. So this show is about using sports as a vehicle. I basically think a wake-up call is wake-up call is the car that I put humility, comedy, positivity, honesty, community, creativity. You throw it in the faith, you put it all in the car together, and you drive it to people's houses and you drop it off and say, you need some comedy today. You need some hope today. You need some faith today. You need some family today. And you got that. It's not just a sports show. So speak on what wake-up call, what that means to you, because, you're providing for a lot of these young men a wake-up call in their lives. They're providing one for you at times. And from your story and from everything you've said and for the humbleness that you have, I can imagine that not only have you helped a kid out before, but I'm sure that they've come into your office and said something, and it's kind of made you take a step back and maybe reevaluate something in your life that makes you better as well.
Yeah, I think wake-up calls happen on the daily. You just got to make sure you're paying attention to them. Sometimes they're huge and profound. Sometimes they're just subtle. A guy might just kind of give you that look and say, you know what, man, like, you haven't talked to me in a week. You haven't really connected with me, coach. And, I really got to pay attention to those type of things. Or, it might be profound to say, my mom texts me and says, man, you haven't come home in 2 weeks. You need to get your butt home so I can see you. So, like, you got to pay attention to those type of things. And, for me, looking back on my life, there's kind of two moments that really were, wake-up calls. There's one where I was a sophomore at CBA, and mom was married at the time and ended up getting divorced. I just remember that morning before I went to school, we kind of had a chat, and I got a job the next day. It was just like, I want to be the man of the house now. So that kind of inspired to me that, from here on out, at the age of 16, I got to catapult and elevate my own life. And then my sophomore year here at Hobart, my grandmother, she actually passed away, and rest in peace to her today. It's actually her birthday. So
happy birthday. What's her name?
Her name's Kathy Washington.
Well, happy birthday to Kathy Washington then.
Yeah. So that was
awesome.
A tough situation to go through as a sophomore, and crying in the locker room to my teammates. And my head coach at the time, Izzy Metz, he actually invited me and my classmates over to his house and just had some dinner. Just able to get out of my dorm, and that really showed me the impact a coach can have on a person's life. I don't even know if Coach Metz knows how much that meant to me, but it showed me that at the end of the day, you got to be able to put your arm around these guys and make sure they can come to you through anything, through any moment of adversity. So now that I'm the head coach, I'm trying to provide that for our guys. And, I talk with them. I go over to the dining hall and get breakfast with them. I walk to class with them, whatever I can to kind of step into their shoes, because coaching is a unique industry, especially in the college level, Dan, is that you're always working with 18 to maybe 23-year-old guys. And as coaches, you're constantly getting older. So I'm getting smarter. I'm hopefully getting smarter, I should say, but getting more mature, and you're going through these experiences. But every year, there's a wide-eyed 18-year-old coming to step foot on your campus. So I can never lose sight that I got to be able to kind of walk them through this 4-year phase and be as excited for them to start college as I was when I stepped foot on campus. So head coaches are about, sometimes providing that wake-up call for people, Dan, and motivating them to do better than they even see themselves being able to do.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point here, Stefan, about the fact that, every year you're getting older, but you're having a wide-eyed 18-year-old come in. As a broadcaster, I feel that with recruits that, I step in and the first time I start talking to recruits, I'm like mid-20s. And they're 17, 18, 16-year-old kids. But, you feel on that. And then I'm having that thing like, okay, now I'm 33, and I'm talking to these 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds and 16-year-olds. And, when they finish up at Syracuse, they're going to be 30 or they're going to be 21, 20. Somewhere around there, and I'm 33, no matter what, going to be 34. So, I mean, you kind of like hit a nerve with me on that one. Like, how do you handle that? How do you handle the fact that, you want to stay fresh and stay with it and understand, kind of how to speak to them. And it's always like navigating. Like when I started doing this stuff, when I started being a broadcaster, there was no social media. So, you know what I mean? It's like when you start doing it, there's no social. Now they live on social media. You want to get in touch with a player, you go on Twitter, you go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, whatever. So, I mean, how do you stay young, and how do you stay like with it and know what to do? Because you as a coach, and then I look at it as a broadcaster, and teachers look at it every day too. I mean, there's so many jobs that can all come to like, we're all getting older, but they're still 18. So how do you handle that?
I think first is just and being able to make sure I'm taking care of myself mentally, physically, emotionally. So I like to read a good amount, to try to learn and get inspired from different places, because I know if I can present myself at the best of its ability, then whoever I'm interacting with will get the best me. So I try to do that on the daily, whether I'm listening to podcasts, going for runs, bike rides. But after that, the next phase of it is really just diving into the young person's world, understanding what their challenges are. I know every 5 years to a decade, the world kind of evolves for kids, and you got to be able to see what they're going through. And it's funny, man, if you have a conversation with a kid 2 or 3 times, usually that third conversation, they're going to open up to you, especially if you're being genuine and authentic, and you're opening up to them about maybe adult issues that they have no idea about. So I just try to sit down face-to-face, talk with guys. I also like to listen to hip-hop a lot. I think hip-hop's driving our culture right now. A lot of kids listen to it. You go to any basketball game, and it's going to be on the warm-up, and kids love it. And to be able to kind of spit some lyrics to them or talk about whatever's going on, it just allows you to kind of say, you know what, this coach is understanding of what I'm going through on the daily. And the other thing kids kind of lose sight of sometimes is that I may have gone through a similar situation. You know, whether I can emphasize empathy or sympathy, I got to make sure that they know that there's people that have done it before. And also, being the young coach, I got to be mindful of the fact that if I can't help them, and that might not be my expertise, I can't give false advice just to make myself feel good. I got to then be able to pick up the phone, call someone to steer them in the right direction who actually can help them. So I think having that self-awareness is where it starts, but then the second phase of that is just really diving into these kids' lives and learning who they are and how we can make an impact, because each individual is different.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing, is navigating that, and you being an assistant coach on this team, you know, to me, obviously can help you out. You're coming off a recent success and positivity there. You're coming off of the opportunity to be around these young men already, you know, and kind of get a feel for that as an assistant coach. So, you know, just what you could say about that transition and how that's helpful to you, that you know, have had the opportunity to be an assistant at Hobart and before that at Wilkes. But, you know, in this actual situation, you're going from the assistant chair to the head coaching chair. You're coming off of success. You're coming off of working with these kids. You're coming off of being in this community. Just what that does for you as a head coach.
I think it just gives me a platform of understanding. You know, I didn't have to move. I didn't have to learn new guys' names. It was literally when the news got out that I was going to get the job, I called every guy individually and, you know, just talked with them man to man, and they seemed pretty excited about it. So I was very fortunate to be able to get their, you know, blessing to say, you know what, I'm happy that you're taking us. You know, Coach Sweeney, the previous head coach here, did an awesome job of catapulting the program. He put us at a great level. Every year, you know, we're competing in our conference to go try to win a championship. So that expectation was already there with our guys. Now it was just a matter of me kind of putting my little twist on it. And I think they've really been excited about what we can do. Our roster is going to be deep this year. We've added some great freshmen. We have some great senior leadership and some sophomores and juniors that have also played. So that combination of just guys that are willing to be able to put the extra work in has been great. And, you know, as an assistant coach, you're kind of the suggester. You know, hey, coach, I think we should do this, or what do you think about that? Yeah. Now I'm fight over that one seat. You're the decision maker. So I got to make sure that, you know, I'm thinking thoroughly on these type of things and just can't kind of, you know, shoot it off at the hip and say, we're going to go this direction without maybe even having analytics or, you know, conversations with my assistant coaches, Sean Smiley and Dennis Paisley, about what they're thinking. So it's got to be a collective effort moving forward. And, you know, I'm young, so I'm not naive to know that, you know, I can learn from our players. They can teach me a lot about the game. So I'm not afraid to ask them questions about what they're seeing, what they're feeling. And, you know, if we all can kind of get onto the same page and, you know, have a collective identity, I think that's going to give us an opportunity to build off of, you know, what we've had the last couple of years.
You know, and we got a message here coming in as well while you were saying that from Amy Washington. Said, all this from a man that wasn't expected to make it and was born stillborn. Talk about life with a purpose. God is good. So she just released a little bit of info here that, you know, not a lot of people know. Born stillborn. You were born almost without the opportunity to have a moment. Just what you could say about that.
Yeah, that's my mom right there. My family's showing me a lot of love today, so I'm appreciative. Yeah, you know, I obviously don't remember that moment. My mom had me when she was 17 years old, so I'm sure that was pretty impactful to her to, you know, give birth to me and me stillborn. So, you know, I was fighting for my first breath from the second I was born. So I think that hunger, that passion inside me has been there since day one. You know, the fact that I still feel like I got to do that today. I feel that burning desire in my chest every day to, you know, make the most of my opportunities. And I've been fighting since day one. So, my mom, I love you. I appreciate that.
And like you said, obviously that's not a memory that you have. It's a memory that she has. But, you're born stillborn. You grow up with, a single parent household. You go through that divorce as well and things that go on there. You go through all of and then trying to be the man of the house and getting a job the next day. Plus, you're not in the greatest of neighborhoods with a lot of things around you that could draw you in the other direction. We hear people today complain that they don't, their life is terrible because their Starbucks order wasn't right, or because somebody cut them off in traffic, or, because, class didn't go well, or their girlfriend broke up with them, or their boyfriend didn't say hi. You had actual real life roadblocks, and you've jumped over them all, and you're sitting here this morning like, that's life, Dan. That's what I had to go through. That was my path to get here. What has made you so strong and so confident in what you need to do in a world that complains about things that really honestly don't matter in the grand scheme of things? And you were going through, at any given time, you could have given up. At any given time, you could have said, I'm not ready to be an adult. I'm not ready to take this on. I'm not ready to go here. I'm not strong enough to not be able to go with the peer pressure. But you didn't. Speak to that.
I think it's all perspective. I feel very fortunate that I've always been able to find a positive twist on a situation, or even go against the odds. Coming where I come from, I might have had a 5% chance. I don't know that exactly, but I might have had a 5% chance to graduate high school and go to college. But for me, I'm looking at it like, all right, I got a 5% chance. Like, let me go do it. How can I separate myself and put myself into that 5%? But I started with my mom. As I mentioned, she had me when she was pretty young, and she sacrificed a lot of her experience of being able to go away for college and have those kind of young adult lives and do her thing. And she put me first. So to see the sacrifice she's able to commit and have to mature quickly, it gave me no excuse, man. Like, to be able to go home, make dinner, help out, and go back to basketball practice. Like, that was just the circumstances I was in. So I never really tried to run away from those. I accepted my reality for what it was, but also knew that I never wanted that to be forever. You got to still dream. You still got to have a passion, and you got to be able to kind of get outside your comfort zone to be able to do so. But it started with me with my mom. She laid that foundation. She instilled in me the habits and said, just be your Delta raw deal. Mean that has to be your life forever. So I've really tried to catapult that to make sure I'm still striving to be who I can be on the daily.
That coming from Stefan Thompson here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. In closing here, Stefan, to take a look at the fact that, before you came to Hobart, you were at Wilkes. I got to give Wilkes a shout out because one of my good friends, Tara Machaco's over there, women's basketball, got to go over there and become the head coach after being at Marywood University. So, and I've had a connection to Wilkes in broadcasting games that Marywood was going up against them, and now having Tara over there. So what was life like at Wilkes? What did you learn from Wilkes? I want to give him a little shout out this morning because it's kind of ironic that you got to go through there and experience that.
Wilkes University, that was my first college job. I loved it. I was wet behind the ears, but Coach Metz gave me an opportunity and really took me under his wing. And I had to do a lot when I was there. I was a full-time basketball assistant. I was director of intramurals. I was also getting a master's degree. Kind of living on my own for the first time in a place I wasn't familiar with. So you talk about being outside of your comfort zone. I was really thrown into that at an early age. I think I was only 22 at the time. So I really tried to make sure that I was trying to learn on the daily. Coach Metz was a great mentor of mine that's here at Hobart. He recruited me. I played for him for 2 years, but then to give me the opportunity to put my foot in the door in the coaching industry, he was there when I made some boneheaded suggestions in the office or during a game, and he stuck with me. I think he had confidence that this guy can get it one day. So Wilkes University as a whole was just an unbelievable culture down there. They have a lot of pride for their athletics and sports, and that Wyoming Valley area, and it's just a great sports area with Scranton, Marywood, Misericordia, King's College right down the street. You don't get that too often for a college experience. So for us to be able to play a rival like King's and our student body walk 3 blocks down to their gym, that means something. That's big time. It's, for me at the time, it felt like it was Duke versus North Carolina.
Yeah.
For me, I really tried to enjoy it on the day-by-day kind of grind I had, whether it was doing schoolwork and real stuff or coaching our guys up. But that instilled in me that I can kind of handle a lot on my plate and still hopefully deliver at the best of my ability.
So we look at this season and we look at 2019 and 20. You've got to spend some time now around the guys. What can you say about this year's team? You're stepping in as a head coach for the first time ever in your history, and you're stepping into a new campaign for 2019, 2020, after being at Hobart as a player and being at Hobart as an assistant. Your first year as a head coach. What's 2019, 2020 starting to look like for you in your opinion?
It starts with our guys, and I have to tip my hat to them. I know we're only in preseason. A lot of programs across the country are probably feeling excited, but our guys are constantly in the gym together. When you look here and you hear the balls bouncing, it's 2, 3, 4 guys in there working together. Rebounding for each other, playing king of the court, which I think is kind of going outdated right now. But I like to see them kind of getting back to the roots of playing playground basketball and just checking it up. And can you get a bucket or can you get a stop? And it starts with them, though, and I think they've been working hard in the weight room. As I mentioned before, I think we have a deep roster this year, so it's going to be ultra competitive. And our guys know that, and we know that iron sharpens iron. That's kind of our philosophy here at Hobart. And you want to keep surrounding yourself around guys that are going to make you better on the daily. But what also comes with that is a lot of sacrifice. Because when it's game day and bleachers are out and people are in the stands, you got to kind of put your ego aside and say the most important thing is that Hobart has more points than the opponent. And I'm trying to instill those habits in our guys. So we're working on our program pillars. Our guys are really embracing them so far. And here at Hobart, those for us are pride, unity, multiple effort, bigger than basketball, and respect. And, our guys so far have liked the opportunity they're getting to kind of define it, get our expectations, our standards behind that. So I'm pumped for October 15th. That's our first official practice in Division III. That's the first time I can step on the court with our guys. So right now they're kind of handling their own and leading themselves. So I'm pumped just to kind of keep hopefully hitting this trajectory in the right direction.
And really quick here to give a shout out to Division III. Just what you could say about it. There's so much focus on Division I men's basketball, this, that, and the other. But Division II, Division III, JUCO, at every level of basketball, there's something exciting for the men's side and the women's side. Just what you could say about the D3 life.
It's a great level of basketball. I think it's the epitome of student athletes. Is you're going to get the full academic experience, and then you still get to play. You don't get all the glamour that comes with maybe a Division I background with 20,000 people in the stands. Sometimes Division III, you might only have 500 people there. A couple of them might be your relatives and your family, but there is this level of pride and passion. And most guys go to Division III for unique circumstances. They're not tall, not big enough, or whatever it may be. But doesn't mean their skill level's not good. Doesn't mean their IQ's not good. Guys are really talented at this level. Guys actually do go on to play pro. For me, in my example, I was able to go over to Italy, and I was over in Trento. And my teammate for a week and a half was Brandon Trish, who was my high school rival and played at Syracuse and had an unbelievable career there. But it just goes to show that just because you go Division III, that doesn't mean it's an end-all and be-all for you. If you want to keep grinding and be a professional basketball player, you can do so. But if you also want to use your education to kind of steer you in a direction in a career, you're going to be able to get a lot of time to commit yourself to the academics and the internships and things of that nature. So I think Division III is a great level of basketball. I think it highlights some of our smartest and greatest athletes in the country.
That coming from Stefan Thompson once again here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Stefan, as always, I appreciate it. I thank you. We got to talk last week for a little bit, got to talk on the air here today, and looking forward to obviously a continued conversation. Definitely appreciate your story, appreciate the young man that you are in our community of the 315 and beyond, and I'm happy to know that somebody that has fought the right way is having the dividends and it's paying off, and you're getting to be a leader out there. So congratulations on that. And then secondarily, selfishly, I need some Hobart stuff, so make sure you make that happen.
I got you, Dan. I'll make sure I take care of you on that, and I appreciate all of the things you've done for me today and just giving me this platform to speak and share my story and elevate our program.
Absolutely. Well, God bless with everything out there, and we obviously look forward to talking with you soon. And again, thank you so much for telling your story. Hopefully it'll help a kid today to sleep a little bit better and to know that there's opportunity out there, because sometimes it gets bleak, but you got to see that there always is that candle in the wind that's not going to blow out. So thank you for what you do.
I appreciate that a lot. I'm going to kind of finish it off the CBA way. St. John the Baptist, De La Salle.
Pray for us.
Live Jesus in our hearts.
Forever.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it, man.
All right, thank you, and thank you for bringing that back.
All All right, no problem. See you.
All right, I'll talk with you soon. So once again, that coming from Stefan Thompson here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and we definitely appreciate having him here on the broadcast and thank him for all that he's done here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora this morning. Just by hanging out and just by speaking with us here this morning really has just made something amazing out of starting this week off in this broadcast. So, and it's really funny that he said that, because I've been thinking about that. St. John the Baptist de La Salle, pray for us. Live Jesus in our hearts forever. That is the CBA way. That's, what we said at every prayer service and, in the morning. And I mean, that was something that we always lived with. And I haven't said it in so long, you know what I mean? It's like, I haven't been around that to really like sit there and say that, and to be able to do that just really meant a lot to me. So that was really cool. And it's very ironic how the world works, where I was thinking of it and then it happened. So, thank you to Stefan for that, and really cool, really amazing. So you could go back and watch this video instantaneously. We're going to end this video on facebook.com/livenowdt, and you can go back and watch it. We'll have watch parties for it. You can watch it on facebook.com/livenowdt. It'll be on the feed. You could also go to facebook.com/wakeupcalldt to our Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora official page, like the page, and watch the video there. So we're going to end this video, so make sure you go back and watch it, enjoy it, and we are going to continue on mixlr.com, where you see it on the ticker here, /wakeupcalldt. So you can continue to listen on MixLR, and then on video, we will be back with a new video. So for those of you that are on Facebook, stay here with us. You're going to see a Syracuse video launch, so just hop over to that video. And in the meantime, those on MixLR, stay where you are, and we'll keep it going. So thank you to Stefan Thompson for everything this morning. Really just an amazing story. I honestly can't wait to meet him face-to-face and, sit down and have some tea and talk about it. I don't drink coffee, so that's why I'm having some tea in this conversation, but I definitely would love the opportunity to speak with him face-to-face, to just sit down and learn more of his story. But hopefully you got some inspiration this morning. You got some Monday motivation from Stefan Thompson. We appreciate it so very much. So let's take a step aside here on MixLR. We'll be back momentarily on Facebook.